Hello Aquarius, this is Fox Astrology and Tarot here with your astrology and tarot report for the month of September 2019. This is the general report. Be sure to check out the love or relationships report that I have. There's in the description below, there's a link. And also, if you're watching this for an ascendant sign or a sun sign or moon sign, be sure to find the videos for your other signs as well, because especially if you're watching it for a sun or moon sign, I'll have a lot more relevant information to your natal chart if you're watching your ascendant sign videos. I've pulled a little bit more information for your ascendant sign stuff because I can tell based on your ascendant sign where your houses are in your natal chart, and that will really help me uncover a little bit more information about these transits for you. So starting off on September the 2nd, we have Venus squaring Jupiter, we have the Sun in conjunction with Mars, and we also have a loose T-square between Venus and Jupiter and Neptune. Neptune just being a few degrees off from perfect, but it's still strong enough to have an effect. Just discussing the other two transits, we have Mars in conjunction with the Sun. This is sort of like an infusion here of energy, of willpower, seeing as the sign of Leo would be lined up with your 7th house in your natal chart. If you have an Aquarius ascendant, this may seem to bring some energy into your house of partnerships, really about longer relationships, long-term commitments. So that's not necessarily your committed partner. It could also be business partners if you're doing partnerships for long periods of time or long contracts, that sort of thing. It's kind of the house of Libra, so it's the house of compromise. It's the house of partnership, of balance. So in this case, you may experience a big sort of a sense of needing to seek balance and seek equality and seek an understanding, a compromise with others. Seeing as whenever Mars is in a sign, it tends to focus your will and your energy in that area. That may be what it ends up feeling like for you. Now, Mars changes signs on the 26th. It changes into Virgo, so that is going to change a little bit for you. So moving on to Venus and Jupiter. Venus at a square with Jupiter may have you feeling a little off-center, maybe a little overindulgent, as Jupiter tends to be about expansion and abundance and growth and, adventure into new areas. Venus being more about aesthetic beauty and love and self-love. The two together at odds means there's a struggle to find common ground between these two energies. So you may end up feeling, like I said, a little off-center, a little overindulgent. Jupiter sits in the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio is in your 10th house if you have a Aquarius ascendant. Also wanted to mention, for those of you who have an Aquarius sun or moon, for this main kind of area, this transit, Leo sits in opposition to your natal sun or moon. So this will create a little bit of tension. It will seem a little under the radar for you. It may be difficult to become more aware or more conscious of these energies and what's happening. It may seem to happen sort of out of the blue, or maybe come to surprise you. It may be difficult to manage because it's under your awareness. So in that case, it's going to really benefit you, especially since Jupiter is going to be squaring your natal sun or moon sign if you have a natal Aquarius sun or moon. Jupiter is square your sun or moon, so this will really sort of, like I said, put you off center, put you maybe a little at odds with those two energies, maybe have a difficult time balancing it. And as well, the T-square is opposite Neptune, and Neptune currently sits in your sign, Aquarius. So there's it seems a lot of tension between these three planets here. There is ultimately sort of an outlet, though. Whenever there's a T-square and you have another planet, another angle with a positive or a non-challenging angle or aspect to that T-square point, what you have is sort of an outlet. You have sort of like a way to blow off steam, a way to release that tension, a way to focus that energy in a way that's a lot more beneficial, a lot more supportive of your current situation. So keep in mind, there's Saturn and your North Node. So Saturn sits in Sagittarius, which is in your 11th house, and that's your sign of Aquarius. So that should feel pretty comfortable. Maybe taking on some extra responsibility, maybe taking on some longer sort of plans that may take some extra time to develop. This is about endurance. This is about diligence and commitment, ambition as well. Now the North Node sits in Gemini, and that's in your 5th house. So on the opposite end, we have creativity, we have risk-taking, we have all of that. So these two outlets are there, but you may feel much more drawn to your 11th house activities, which might come more naturally to you. That means, in this case, it's more likely to benefit you overall on September 2nd transits, which may last a couple of days before and after, that you organize some sort of social or business event, that you put together a way for you and some other friends, you and some other co-workers to get together, enjoy yourselves, but ultimately find some purpose for that event. Whether it doesn't have to be some serious purpose, some ambitious purpose, but something with some sort of purpose, not just obviously like a party. But here in general, the point will be to see life from other perspectives, to gain some wisdom, to gain some understanding of life that is different from yours, whether that's through its lifestyle, through its purpose, through its goals, through its general experience, that sort of thing. So that's why I've brought out the Ascension card. This card talks a lot about balancing your willpower, your life purpose, your higher self with this physical side of your existence, this body, the mind, the emotions, the thoughts, all of that, and how sometimes when we can allow one to really take over, we lose a sense of balance. We lose either, if we're focused on too many higher callings, too much spiritual, ambition, we lose touch with our physical side, with our physical experience, and that can manifest in the way of getting burnt out, feeling like itchy, or like having restlessness and that sort of thing. And that can be something that when you pace yourself, when you allow yourself to take care of your body, give your body what it needs through either food or some sort of general pleasure or fun or enjoyment, you can balance those two. And so that's the real key here, is finding a way to balance the two sides of yourself in a way that allows you to feel like, I guess you could say, everybody's getting what they want, I guess you could say that. And that, I feel, plays into the 7th house issues here, this idea of compromise, the idea of understanding and balance in your life. Now on the 10th, we have the Sun in opposition with Neptune. Now seeing as the Sun is in Leo until the 18th, opposite Neptune, which currently sits in your sign, this is going to make things feel a little confused. Since the Sun is currently in Leo, and that tends to be sort of like where your energy is, where your awareness is, where you're drawn to naturally. Opposite Neptune, this is going to make it seem like there's some confusion, there's some haze that has set in. This will become more difficult to clarify things, to get details, to see clearly. So make sure during this transit that you focus more on striving for clarity. In opposition, you may find more that it's frustrating, that it seems like there are things set against your purposes, set against your goals. And in this case, it's best to just avoid committing to serious engagements, serious relationships, vague contracts, things that don't really seem to make a lot of sense. You're going to want to hold off on those until later on when that haze has passed. Because with oppositions, you're going to experience a lot more frustration, a lot more resistance to progress. Not saying that nothing will happen or nothing will progress, but here the key is recognizing when you're not getting enough details to make a decision, knowing that if you have the opportunity to cool off and give it some time to develop and to sort of clear up, that you could, and that would really allow you to make a better decision later on. And that's what the Seven of Love is talking about here, this idea of castles in the clouds, building up lots of ideas and theories and fantasy about what is to come, not really grounding it in reason or rationale or sort of grounded practicality. And that's what you want to seek for, is a balance between the two. So later on the 13th of September, we have the Sun trining Pluto. Now, Pluto sits in Sagittarius also, so with your Aquarius Ascendant, Aquarius Sun or Moon, in general, Sagittarius sits in your 11th house. Here it seems like this is a boost to your energy, the 11th house here. There's leadership, there's power, there's transformation, there's a seeking of the truth, there's intimacy with the things you're seeking intimacy with. And so self-knowledge and self-awareness allows you to make better decisions that are more in alignment with your long-term higher purpose. And so here the key thing is recognizing that first of all, a trine means that this is easy and effortless and almost under your awareness. This boost of energy is going to be happening. So take advantage of that by trying to allow more awareness around this area in your life so that you can sort of harness it and sort of take advantage of that transit. Here, you're going to be more likely to be aware of your feelings, to be aware of the changes that are necessary, to be aware of what needs to be done, to be aware of the truth, and to be accepting of the truth, or at least more likely to be accepting of the truth. So, excuse me. Here the key thing is application of knowledge. Prepare yourself for some deeper changes, some bigger transformations, some more momentum behind those kinds of decisions. You're going to be more likely to want to actually create some significant change during this transit. And that's the Lady of Love, sort of centered on her throne, confident and sure of her knowledge of herself, able to make decisions because she knows her strengths and her weaknesses. She's able to place herself where she can do her best. So, and later on the 21st, we have Jupiter squaring Neptune. Now, Jupiter, like I mentioned, is sitting in Scorpio and Neptune sitting in your sign. This square may have you just a little over-optimistic. So try to keep in mind during this transit, you may feel like you don't need to take the long run, the long version. You don't need to take the long view or anything that seems long in general. The optimism here may kind of cloud your judgment. It may put you in a situation where you've overcommitted, where you've believed that it could be done through a shortcut, through avoiding some important step, and it may end up delaying your work later. So just keep in mind, these shortcuts may not help you in the long run. It's better to focus on really this higher calling, this practical and more grounded approach to these goals that you might have, however important they may be, and sometimes even the small decisions. Sometimes the small decisions add up over time. They're even bigger than the big decisions, the ones that seem more important. So keep an eye out for that. On the 25th, we have Saturn squaring Venus, or I guess the other way around. Venus squaring Saturn. Saturn sitting in your 11th house. Saturn and Uranus, both for an Aquarius, they're like day and night rulers. So here, your other ruler, I guess you could say, the trouble here as a square between Venus and Saturn is feeling like all of a sudden responsibility and commitment becomes so important that you might actually overmanage it or over-involve yourself in the process. So here, the stresses of responsibility, both in love and work and life, you may have yourself sort of feeling stressed and worn out and a little divided and separated from others, feeling maybe a little misunderstood, feeling a little solitary, maybe wanting to withdraw, and that's natural. So that's what the Four of Love is about recuperation, giving yourself a rest period to regenerate, to sort of self-soothe, provide yourself some comforts in order to make it through this transit. It's pretty understandable here. So in general, that's it here. Finally, on the 30th, we have the Seven of Love again, but this time reversed. The interpretation is about this struggle to win. Venus squaring Pluto this time. Now, when Pluto is at a square with Venus, what we feel is maybe this dynamic of power, or the struggle for power, the struggle for, I guess you could say, conquering or overcoming an obstacle. A lot of times with Pluto involved, there's this analogy of rebirth or of transformation, of metamorphosis. And so here, there's this struggle to win. There's a struggle to achieve that change. And ultimately, at a square to Venus, what it ends up being is feeling like you can't really enjoy yourself, feeling like you have to withhold this enjoyment, this beauty, this pleasure of your physical existence because you have not overcome yet. You have not changed. You have not brought about this transformation yet. And so it's like you're withholding that from yourself. So keep in mind during this period to not take that for granted, to remind yourself of your accomplishments, remind yourself of the things you have to be grateful for, remind yourself of the changes you've been able to make already, and to look at the progress you've already made towards whatever goals you have. To sort of, I guess you could say, to ease up on yourself, to give yourself a little credit where credit is due. And that may help you to sort of balance out that, I guess you could say, almost obsessive behavior with trying to, I guess it's sort of like those days when you feel like nothing's going your way and you just really want just one little win to make yourself feel a little better. But honestly, with these squares, it means anything you do decide must happen. You're going to meet a lot of resistance. It's not saying it won't happen, but just be prepared that you may meet a lot of resistance. Be mindful of the sacrifices you might have to make in order to make that happen, so that you don't end up, burning any bridges with anybody, maybe sacrificing something that you don't think currently will be that important, but later on it turns out it is. Now I'm going to pull a couple of cards for you, Aquarius, just to see if there's any messages, and that will be it. Alright, so we've got two messages here. I see the Otter coming out a lot this month for all the signs. Something about playfulness, something about enjoyment, allowing yourself to receive whatever the moment has for you. There's a receptivity here, a feminine energy here that allows you to accept and to, like I said, to receive sort of the state of the moment, to be present more often, to allow, to be more receptive. And this is key here because I feel like a lot of what's happening in the month is creating the need to wait, to have patience, to delay maybe some plans that you have in order to wait for the right moment. And that takes some courage to be receptive. It takes some acceptance of what is, of what currently exists, and waiting for the right moment requires that receptivity. Being too aggressive, trying to push the matter too aggressively may end up spoiling it. So be sure to be mindful of that receptivity. Be sure to be mindful of your need to be more playful, your need to enjoy yourself, your need to maybe get yourself out of your head a little bit, enjoy your body, get out into the sun, have some fun, that sort of a thing. And the antelope here, this is maybe a message about the Pluto and Sun trine here. Maybe there's some urgent plan, some urgent goal you have, but somehow you've managed to delay it because there was a sacrifice that you learned about or became aware of, and all of a sudden that sacrifice made it feel like this plan or this goal wasn't as urgent. For some reason you may have procrastinated because you realized there's something big here that you have to give up, something that you feel may sort of spoil it, or maybe you're fearful about the outcome and what may happen as a result of that sacrifice. And here the antelope suggestion here is, if you know what must be done, if you know that there's some sort of sacrifice that needs to be made, but you're fearful of the consequences of that, but you realize finally that that's the only way that this plan will finally come out right. It's the only way you know to move it forward. You've thought carefully and difficultly, I don't know if that's a word, you've thought carefully and you've really worked through the options here, and this is the only option, that it just has to be done. This could be a job, or quitting your job and getting into a new career, or a relationship risk that you might have to take. This is about taking action, and that's the message here from Antelope, is if you know what has to be done and you know that it requires a sacrifice, but you're hesitant to do it, you're procrastinating or delaying or putting it off, fearful of the consequences, but you know it's the only option, then just take that action. Don't wait any longer. Don't delay it. If you know it has to be done and that's the only way to do it, then just take that action. Take that leap of faith, and remember that there are plenty of stories of analogies that come out of the book here, talking about the necessity for sacrifice given a certain situation. So I hope that makes sense for you. There's, like I mentioned, there's a lot of activity in your corner of the world, in your natal chart as an Aquarius ascendant. So, and for the sun and moon signs, there's opposition, there's a square, but there is a conjunction with Neptune in your area. So Neptune may be creating a little bit of a haze this month. Just remember that this is about helping you to see really how your dreams can come to happen, but helping you to find a more practical way, not necessarily practical, but basically how to manifest your dreams, and to keep yourself not so high up in the clouds that maybe your idealism or your enthusiasm about your dreams may pull you away from reality. In this case, the challenge here is to balance your dreams with what is, to find a way of allowing both to exist, find a way of being receptive towards your opportunities, seeing how that could take you where you want to go, seeing how your plans could still come to pass regardless of the situation. So I'm really hopeful for this month for you, Aquarius. I look forward to your feedback. Please let me know how I'm doing with a like. You can encourage me to keep going on. Just hit that like button. You can subscribe to catch next month, October's report for your signs. I also do weekly transits and readings depending on the situation. So let me know how I'm doing. I look forward to hearing from you. Peace.